I am a big fan of time management because there aren't enough hours in the day and we're not getting any more hours in the day. So we have to figure out how to get more out of those hours. And we know that time management makes us more productive, more creative, and helps us enjoy life more, enjoy our jobs more, and feel a lot less distressed. So time management is the way to go, but how? I'm going to talk about two different categories of time management techniques, get really practical with you about things that you can do to get more out of your time and to enjoy that time more as well. Okay, so part of effective time management is better structuring your time. So, the number one thing I want you to do, and there are a variety of apps you can download, I've tried them, to create a time budget. And like with doing your financial budget, the place to start is with just tracking what you're spending today. So, it's always shocking when you track your time and figure out, oh, wow, I spent a lot of time on Instagram today when Apple released that screen time diagnostic. It was really alarming. We're like, oh, wow. So, taking a time budget, using an app for a week or so just to get a sense of where you're allocating your time. How much time is going to email? There was a study a while ago that said about 11 hours a week we're going to email. You need to know that, and you need to know how much of that time that you're spending is a good use of time. So, number one, start with a time budget. Start by just looking at your current use of time, but then that's an opportunity to say, here's where I want to shave back a little bit. I want to spend less time doing this. And you may see that, wow, this is really important to my objectives, or this is work that I really enjoy, and I'm shortchanging it. It's getting very little of my week. I want to increase that. So, time budgeting, there are apps. I can put a link below to a few of them. Use those apps, try it, and then create your first pass at a time budget. Number two, the second technique that will be really effective in helping you get more out of your time is structure your time into batches. Batching is putting similar tasks together because we know the way the brain works, we are most efficient when we get kind of into focus and flow in a way of doing the same kind of things at a really quick cadence. We know that there's a big cost. It's called cognitive switching in going from one kind of task to a different kind of task. So if you're doing really creative work, you're trying to come up with a pitch for some wonderful new client opportunity you have, and then you get into doing an expense report, or there's a huge cost in switching from one to the other, and going back from that expense report back into your creative presentations probably going to take you about 20 minutes to get back to something that actually is innovative or creative. So batching your tasks, how do we put it together? So you may say, I'm going to respond to emails for 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes after lunchtime, and 30 minutes to clean out the urgent things before I go home at night. That's batching. I put all of my administrative tasks on Monday mornings. I have blocked Monday mornings. I can do invoicing. I can write proposals. And that batching means that I can work really efficiently through a list. So time batching is a great strategy. Another thing to do in structuring your time is once you've created those batches, ask yourself, what is my natural circadian rhythm or ultradian rhythm? Where do I have lots of energy? Where do I have less energy? And put your match your batch. So take the batch and say, where am I going to put that? So for me, there are certain tasks, so social tasks. So I'm having a planning call with a client. I'm talking to a keynote, a company I'm going to do a keynote with to learn about the audience. And all of those things, those social kind of activities, they're great for me in the lull in the afternoon because I'm a social person. So if I'm feeling low, there's no way that I could be writing or coming up with videos. But if there's a client there, all of a sudden, whew, I've got full energy. So I try and batch. I use the Calendly app for scheduling those planning calls, and the Calendly app only puts those kind of calls into windows in my energy lull in the afternoon. But the opposite is true of my writing tasks. So I write a blog every single week. That blog writing time is always before 10 in the morning. So I'm great. It can be 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and it often is if I have a busy week, but that's okay because first thing in the morning, I have the energy to do those writing tasks, the big creative tasks. So batch and then match. Put them into your calendar in the places you have energy. The final structuring technique is the Pomodoro technique, probably one that you've heard of a million times. But the technique is to work using a timer. You can use a little kitchen timer. I have a tool called the Time Timer. It's a very, it almost looks like a Fisher Price kind of thing. You turn it, and this big red piece of plastic shows you how much time you have left. It's a very simple tool, but that's why I like it. And the Pomodoro technique is to work for a fixed period of time. I like a 40-minute Pomodoro block, and then to deliberately, intentionally stop, do something else to relax your brain, go back, do another chunk, and you can decide whether you are optimized at, two of those, three of those, but you will find you can get a tremendous amount of work done if you set those constraints. For me, I try and think of it a little bit like I'm on some kind of a game show. I'll say, okay, I'm going to get this blog from the draft text. I'm going to get it upload it onto the website, get the image, I'm going to do that in 20 minutes, go. And somehow adding the little bit of a race to it makes it, I don't know, more fun. At least I'm fooling myself. So techniques to better structure your time using a time budget, and there are lots of tools to help you with that. Batching your time so that we reduce those cognitive switching costs, matching your batches to your energy level, putting the right things in the right place in a week. I love starting my Monday morning with that time to plan, but I have lots of clients who put that as their Friday afternoon block because they like to go into the weekend knowing that the ducks are orderly for the following week. And then using Pomodoro technique to do little sprints and then rest and sprint again, you'll get a ton done. So those are techniques for better structuring your time. What about protecting your time? So one thing is, I talked about cognitive switching. Cognitive switching applies very much, very strongly in meetings as well. So one of the things you can do to protect your time is, instead of just having one team meeting where you're covering everything from, has everybody got their expense reports in, all the way to, what's our strategy going to be for the next 3 years. You can be much more efficient if you batch within your meeting structure. So we have a Monday morning 30-minute huddle. We don't even sit down. We just share what's going on in the week, make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And that's completely different from our once monthly meeting where we talk about our strategic projects and what progress we're making and whether we need to reallocate. You will find, I know it sounds counterintuitive, that having more meetings could in any way make you more efficient. But what happens is you get a lot more done in those meetings. You can shorten them. If that huddle were in a 2-hour meeting, you'd suddenly find that 30 minutes of content taking an hour, because we just fill the space. And particularly with stuff that's really tactical or operational, we can go on and on and on. So get a better meeting structure so that you've got your operational, tactical, in the weeds stuff contained into a small huddle. And then separate out the stuff where you need to spend more time, you need to be more creative, batch that work in your meetings as well. Secondly, just don't go to some meetings. A great way to protect your time is to say, if the meeting doesn't have an agenda, I'm not going. If the meeting has an agenda, but it's not the most important thing that we could be talking about right now, or we're not ready to have that conversation, we're not set up for success, we don't have the right people involved, so I can go to the meeting, but I know darn well we're going to need another meeting after that meeting because it's not the right people. Those sorts of things make declining a meeting one of the best ways that you can protect your time. And it may be that you can't completely decline the meeting, but you can say, could you let me know where this piece is on the agenda? I think I can add value there. I think I need to be at that part, but I'm just going to attend for that agenda item instead of for the entire meeting. So we can protect our time by declining meetings that aren't set up for success or aren't aligned with our most important priority, or we can just really shrink those meetings and our participation back to only the most important stuff. That's a key piece of it. Another thing that you can do is get your email under control. Protecting yourself from email is really, really important these days. So, one way to make email a more effective use of time management, first of all, is to use subject lines better. So if we could get to the point where our subject lines kind of were the executive summary, so it may say, I would have a verb first, like this is just for your information, or this is action required, or this is decision required, or whatever else. Start with that, then have a little description of this is about the Acme proposal. And then the final thing in the subject line should be what's the due date. So it may say end of day. It may say by the 25th. But if you do that, if you send an email serving the person who's receiving it by helping them to very quickly triage that this is not something that needs to interfere with my day. So this is about protecting our time. It's such a great thing to do for someone, just scanning their inbox like, oh, yep, okay, that's for later. Another thing you can do in the body of the email that really helps people protect their time is put the TLDR, put the punchline. If there's an action required, I always put one line with the action required, then I put like a bunch of asterisks, and then I put the context below. Again, then the person can get right to what they need. They may not need all that context. They can dip into it if they do. So getting our meeting or our email hygiene, meetings as well, but email hygiene better is such an important technique for better using our time. The next thing you need to do is set your standards of how you are going to use email on your team. I think teams that manage their time really effectively do things like say, we expect everyone to have checked their email by 9 a.m. So anything in there that has an urgent action required, they deal with that. Then they're going to check again at the midday and again before the end of the day. But great time managing teams do not expect people to be checking their email in between those times. So, what does that mean? Does it mean, if I need somebody at 10 a.m., I'm screwed? No, it means that we're going to get out of email if we need somebody urgently or more urgently than that. That's a great time to just phone somebody, walk over to their desk. Because if we use email as a way of that somebody has to respond to immediately, then all we're doing is saying you don't get to protect your time. You're never going to be in focus and flow. You're never going to be able to get that batch done because you have to be dipping out of that to check your email all the time. So really effective time management teams understand that protecting good time, high quality, efficient, productive time means setting email into chunks and not violating those. If you do need someone urgently, pick up the phone, use a different approach. Okay, what about barriers? So, another key technique for protecting your time is to set up barriers that say to people, go away. Now, you can use physical barriers. So, physical barriers are I'm going to actually get up and go into an office where I can close a door. That's a great one. I worked in a big open office for a long time, and many of us had noise canceling headphones. And we wouldn't even turn on the noise canceling necessarily, but it was a signal to everyone around. Headphones are on, do not disturb. That's another thing you can do. But setting up those kinds of barriers that say, I'm in focus and flow right now, and unless the building is on fire, please don't interrupt me. So setting up barriers. Another barrier you probably need, the research on having your phone within your line of sight is truly alarming. So even if your phone is turned off and turned upside down, there's still some crazy number of times every hour that we are looking at that phone and being distracted by it. So one of the other barriers you want to set up if you want to manage time effectively is move your phone to another spot, another room preferably, but definitely out of sight. Okay, the last comment I'll make about protecting your time is all of this sounds like you're protecting your time from these vultures out there, your manager or the HR department or your colleagues or your customers. Probably the scariest The phone call is coming from inside the house. The scariest person you need to protect from when you're protecting your time is yourself. It is your desire to, like, oh, I'm just going to
Right.
check my phone, or I'm going to like go into my email, or I'm going to do this other thing that's more fun. um, FOMO is a major thing you need to protect yourself from. So I'm going to accept that meeting because what if somebody says something that I need to know, or just like, well, don't I have to go to that meeting, or I don't want to miss out. That could be fun. FOMO, whether that's fear of missing out on a meeting, an event, a project, or just an email or something funny on Instagram, that is such a risk to effective time management. So don't always think that the biggest the biggest threats to time management are other people you need to protect from. Often it's yourself and your own FOMO that you need to protect from. So these are a variety of different techniques that you can use to effectively manage your time. There's structure techniques like time budgeting and batching and time matching. And then there are boundary techniques like how do we actually make sure we have a better meeting structure so one type of issue doesn't bleed into the others. How do we have email protocols? First of all, how do we have the actual emails be more effective? But how do we change our standards about responsiveness to email? And how do we cope with our own FOMO? These are some tips and techniques to help you manage your time more effectively.